So I have hooped a piece of tearaway sticky stabilizer. And my favorite way of actually slicing my X in the middle is with the tip of a seam ripper, but you do have to be careful that you're just kind of marking the X and not slicing all the way through, because the point of the seam ripper seems to make it easy for me to grab the point. And you do want, although you won't be sewing in the entire field, obviously, you do want to actually tear all of the stabilizer away so that you can really get a nice grip on your pillow cover when you actually place it. All right. So that's ready. And I'm going to run the first design, which is our centering field or our crosshair. So if you do a lot of Kimberbell, you know that they use this crosshair a lot. And very often it is exactly the same size file. So I sent, it was sent, both of them would have been in your downloads from Kimberbell. And Paula, I actually sent you the crosshairs after I sent you this file because I forgot that you needed that one. So you should have both of them now. And we're going to go ahead and load that file first. And that's what we're going to do right now. And so with your, when you do the embroidery, you're just going to use a regular embroidery bobbin. It's going to tell us when it's time to change to the vanish. So if you look in the directions, it says change the bobbin thread to a water-soluble thread. That's what the vanish is. And then we're going to stitch the dandelion fluff detail and then change the bobbin thread back to the neutral color. So make sure that you, I will mention it, but make sure that you are at ear length if your machine is not right next to where you're watching, that you can change back. Otherwise, all of the rest of this will be done in water-soluble thread in your bobbin. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and switch your view here to the machine. And I'm also going to, I have two windows going. I'm going to go ahead and close the window that has me, so you're not looking at the back of my head, and leave the window open that has the sewing machine. All right, so I'm going to put in my bobbin that is just regular embroidery bobbin thread. So on the crosshairs, it's up to you what color you want to run. So it'll say, it didn't really assign a color. It gives you just put a color, put thread on there. What I like to do, since you're not really going to see it afterwards, this is pretty thick fabric and, you know, you're not going to see it. So I would suggest that sometimes it's easier if you run a color that you can really see. So it makes positioning the embroidery a little easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and select embroidery and grab that design. And those are the centering crosshairs. So because I want you to be able to see it in the video, I'm just going to run some purple thread on that. So it's about the brightest, boldest, darkest color I have handy right now. I do love this, this method that they have for you to position. However, I do want you to know that if you have a machine that has a camera, if you have the snowman sticker positioning as part of your machine, and you can do it with that, you can actually just find the middle, you know, find the middle of your hoop, put the snowman sticker down, and you can position the design, the full design, not this design. You can position the full design using your snowman marker. But I think it's also amazing that they have this for those of us that do not have a camera or any type of built-in positioning in our machine. And sometimes when a sewing machine tries to embroider on stabilizer, it isn't always a perfect line. Sometimes some of the stitches come out. Sometimes they're kind of loopy or wonky. It doesn't matter. The only reason it's there is so that you can position. So don't stress. Don't keep rethreading. If it's loopy, as long as you have something around the center, you will be fine. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off the machine. And then we're going to position our pillow. Well, sometimes I can get the camera to come up here. Paula, I sent the second one separately. Check your email again. It's there. I sent it. I realized that I had not sent it and I sent it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold. So I'll give you a minute to go get it. If not, you can position.
Like knocking at the door.
I'm sorry.
He said I wasn't let Brenda in.
Oh, not her.
I'm sorry. I did not hear a word of what was going on. Please repeat.
I think she was.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. It's in the chat box. I had my back turned. All right. So what we're going to do is, now that we've done that, we're going to lay our pillow cover right side up with the zipper pull at the top. So, and again, they have very clear, concise directions on how we're going to place this in our hoop. So pillow cover flat right side up with the zipper pull at the top. So here's the zipper pull. The zipper pull goes to the top of the pillow. Zipper is closed. We're going to be embroidering on this side. This was the sample side, so don't look over here. Look over here. All right, so now that that's up, we want to fold the pillow cover up in half lengthwise, aligning the zipper ends together. So that's this way. So not this way. We want to go this way. So we're going to fold it in half. So now now we have right sides together with the zipper pull at the top here. I'm going to get the tag out of the way there. So fold it in half. And it says to put a little pin, and you can if you want, or you can clip it just so that it stays folded. I usually clip all the way out here because I know I'm going to have to fold again. And this is referred to as fold A. And it says finger press. Measure 4 inches to the right from the zipper teeth and mark this point with a straight pin placed vertically. So here's my zipper teeth. I'm going to measure 4 inches. So the number 4 is actually on the zipper teeth. The 4 on my ruler. And then I'm going to place a pin here vertically. Okay, I'm going to mute you if you're not muted so we don't hear your background noise. If you need to ask a question, just unmute yourself or go ahead and use the chat box. All right, so we folded it in half, right sides together, zippers at the top. This is the area that we're going to embroider in here. This is the other side of the pillowcase. And then we marked out at 4 inches. This is going to be fold B. We're going to take this over and fold it on that line as fold B. And again, you can just finger press that. All right, so now I'm going to grab my hoop. All right, I'm grabbing my hoop and I'm actually, the orientation is with my, my bracket that slides onto the machine is on my left. And the top of the hoop is up and the bottom of the hoop is down, just so that you know my orientation. So now I'm going to take the pin that I just put in there is going to be my north-south line. The fold, where I folded it in half, is going to be my east-west line. So then I'm going to just unfold. So this should be the half, the top half as you unfold it. So I have the line here where I folded in half aligns with your east-west. Suzette, did you have a question?
No,
Okay, I'm trying to keep you muted so your background noise isn't in there. So just
Okay.
unmute if you have a question. Okay. So that's your east-west. Your north-south is the pin that you just put in vertically to mark 4 inches away from your zipper. And then you can take your pin out. I like to press a little bit and then unfold. And then what's nice is that if you take your finger and you run it along the side of your hoop, you'll see that you have the same amount all the way from the top to the bottom. So it actually positions it for you. All right. The rest of this is a piece of cake. All we have to do is stitch at this point. Okay, so I'm gonna just, since this goes against the embroidery unit of the machine, I'm not too worried about this getting in the way. And that's the other side that I already embroidered for my sample. I'm not worried about that getting in the way. So I'm not, you know, I have clips handy. I have a couple of clips that if I feel like it's going to get in my way, I can roll it up and clip it. But I don't think it's going to be, I think it's going to flow over the top of that embroidery arm just fine. All right. So once you've done this, we're going to take it over to the machine and we're going to put it back on. There we go. There it is. I still have just my regular embroidery bobbin thread in.
What's going on with your back?
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and load that design. I'm gonna get rid of this one. So these are the 5 pieces if you're rehooping 3 times, or the 3 pieces if you're rehooping 3 times in a 5x7. We want this one. It's the full design. And then go ahead and select set. So I usually follow the colors on the color chart here. Instead of, so if I look at my colors here, it has colors that I don't need, that I wasn't asked to pull. It only asked me for, although you're always, you know, it's always your choice what colors you want to use. So in this one, it looks like the lighter yellow was actually applied to the cream yellow was applied to the, but I love fall most of all. I just went ahead because the directions just said to use the linen color. I just used that. If you want to use a different color, you can use whatever you want. But the color change sequence will be under each of the 3 segments. You just have to work through the pages. So, but I'm just going to go ahead and follow what the suggestion was. So the stitch leaves and the dandelions I did in the linen. I used the same gold color for all of the wheat. I used the same tan color for whatever this is. And I used the same light green for the little sprigs and the same dark green for the larger leaves. So that's what I'm going to kind of continue on with. So for me, I can see when I select embroidery that my first thing is going to be these little guys right here. And for those, I have selected to use the darker green. So I'm going to go ahead and load with dark green. All right, and I'm just going to push go. This is almost a sew along because we're just going to be doing a lot of stitching now for about the next 40 minutes. I will admit though that when I did the sample, I actually did the 3 hoopings in the 5x7 hoop, and I was pretty amazed at how well thought out it was with having the crosshairs that you stitched one for this, and you had to stitch one every hooping for the 5x7, and then you also drew a line across the bottom here on the pillow with a air erasable marker, and that was all part of your. Okay, I can't do it anything about it right now, Paula, because that computer is in the back. I'm using my own personal computer, and the store computer's in the back, so I can't. I'll send it again. I don't know. I'm not sure why it wasn't in your Kimberbell account. That's so weird. So we have to be grateful for having big hoops that we could actually sew it out in one hooping, because I think that I worked on the video part of the hooping it 3 times with the 5x7 hoop. I worked on it over the course of 2 days because, you know, in the store is busy, so I don't ever have enough time to just sit and do it. But you know, the added time of having to rehoop 2 additional times besides what we've done already kind of adds a lot of time to it. So we have to be grateful we have big hoops, right? We love our big hoops. All right. So now what I am sewing next is the what I thought was like wheat. I don't know, maybe they're both or no, this yeah, those guys. Yeah, these here. Yep. I thought they were kind of like wheat, so that's what I used my tan color for. All right. This is my gold I'm going to do next. All right, the next one's my lighter green color. All right, so I'm on color stop 5. And so what, I'm just giving you the heads up. We have 2 more, we have one, this is our last, we have 2 more color stops before we have to change the bobbin to the vanish. So your bobbin should still be an embroidery bobbin on color stop number 5, which is the dandelion seed stalk detail, and number 6, which is the dandelion stem and leaves detail. Then we're changing out the bobbin. I will give you another reminder, but you can change colors if you want for the dandelions. I just left everything with the linen color, so that's what I'm going to do again. So that means that for me, in both samples, I just followed the color chart here. So I'm going to use the linen for color stop number 5 and then just push go again for color stop number 6. So we only want to do we only want to put the vanish in for the fluff detail. All right, so we're on color stop number 6. What the machine's going to sew right now is this part. So I'm going to leave it with the linen color, and don't put your vanish in yet. Don't put your wash away bobbin thread in yet. So we're just still using the regular. We're going to sew the stems and the leaves. All right. So if you're following on the screen of your machine, if you're seeing this color stop 7 of 9, or you're seeing this color or this picture of what it's going to sew next, we are going to change out to the water soluble bobbin thread. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to take the hoop off. I'm going to take this out. I don't know if I'm going to make it the whole way, but I think I'll make it most of the way, or part of the way anyway. So when I wound this bobbin for the sample, it was full. So now it's about, yeah, I probably won't have enough. So I'll wind another one while I'm stitching. So I'm putting the vanish in, or whatever brand you have. And I'm always really careful to put it back in the bag when I'm done. I have a couple of different projects that use water soluble thread. So I'm always careful to put that stuff back in. All right, so I've got the water soluble bobbin thread in. And I'm not going to change my thread color. It's this part right here, the little fluffy parts that we're gonna actually, that are gonna make our little 3D effect. So we're just gonna sew it. We're just gonna leave that bobbin in for this color change. And then we're gonna stitch again, using the same color thread, but we have to take our put our regular bobbin back in. So when you make fringe with embroidery, we know that this part is gonna, the thread behind it is gonna wash away. So we have to lay down these stitches first, and then we have to do a stitch down the middle with the regular bobbin thread to make sure that when we do that, it doesn't just fall out. Something to anchor it down. So anybody, I think, watching this class after work today is gonna think, oh my God, are there any people there? Because it's just sewing. But you know, I watched this as it stitched out because I love to add a little element of fringe on sometimes when I'm, you know, just creating stuff in software. And I love watching this because I know that every single one of these little guys, once you wash out the wash away bobbin, is going to make a little fluffy little fringe that really is going to look like um the dandelion. I mean, I don't know about where everyone grew up or what you did when you were kids, but when I was a kid, if I saw one of these guys, man, I couldn't resist picking it and blowing on it. And you know, we as kids we love that. And our parents are like, quit doing that, you're putting dandelions all over the lawn. But even when I see them now, I kind of smile because I think about how many of them I just picked and, you know, blew the little seeds everywhere. But that's really kind of cool how this is gonna how it's gonna form when you wash it. I don't know about the time that they put on this. They put the time that's showing on my machine is it takes 10 minutes to sew this. I think it's been more than 10 minutes. And we still get one more dandelion on the other side. This is like the longest part. All right. So if you're looking at this, 8 out of 9, or this emerald green, I don't know why they call that emerald green, but that picture, it's time to take that bobbin out and put your regular embroidery bobbin back in. So I'm going to do that now. And I'm going, look at, I did make it. The vanish is really pretty thin. It's almost like using 80 weight thread. It's so tiny, it's so thin. And so now I have 2 bobbins because I did wind one. Put it back in the baggie, make sure that it's zip locked. And I'm going to grab my regular embroidery bobbin and put that back in. This is the stitches. These stitches that run out now are going to anchor across the top of that fringy stuff. So the stitches that we're doing now are the ones that are going to be across the top here that are going to actually anchor it down when we rinse it out. And again, still using the same color of thread.
Mm.
All right, we're almost done. We have one more color change after this, and that is the But I Love Fall Most of All. It looks like we're gonna run over. So if you have some place to go or something to do at noon, the recording is gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I am not going to wet mine. I'm gonna go ahead and do the stitching part, which is really pretty straightforward, but I want to have it on the video for you. And then, but if I'll tell you, it's a whole lot easier to get it wet if it's not stitched together, because you're going to want to get it really, really, really wet. I tried my normal technique for dissolving stabilizer, which usually what I do is I use the foam makeup sponges, and I just get them really, really wet, and I just blot, and
What?
it usually is enough. But for the case of this,
What's that?
for the case of this, then it doesn't. It has to get really, really wet. So I actually set it down in a bowl and let it soak for a while. And then I just let it air dry. And so I just used a little toothbrush and my fingernail to go over the little fringe. So what I did is I just kind of went like this with my nails and then used a toothbrush to finish the fringe part. So you'll have fringe here, these little ones, both sections here, but on this one, see, this one didn't get soaked. These ones on the interior will not fringe, just these ones on the outside. Yeah, I thought about it because I didn't know if I wanted to sew it together for the video even and take it apart, even though knowing I was going to use the other side for the class. But then I realized that really and truly it's better if you it would have been hard to soak it like I soaked it without getting the whole entire pillowcase wet with it being sewn together. So um, 2 steps behind. No worries, Lori. This depends on how fast you have your machine set speed wise. And also, I think we're all sewing. It's kind of going to be a weird Kimberbell video on this month, I think, is all we are doing is stitching. But yes, if you're 2 steps behind, that's fine. You could have the speed of your machine turned down. And then you wouldn't be sewing at the same speed or rate that we are. As long as you change, your machine keeps acting up. Yeah, sometimes that happens. just make sure that you change your bobbin thread on the correct step, which is in this case. You want to stitch step 6 or color stop 6, and then change your thread for color stop 7, but remember to change it back after that. Yeah, the color stop counter comes in handy. So on the Kimberbells, I love on their directions, not necessarily this one, because again, this one was pretty straightforward. We just put it on and stitched. But usually there's, so I'll often refer to page number of the directions, step number, which is the upper left corner of the box on that page, and then color stop. Color stop lets you know how many times you'll be changing thread, not necessarily how many colors you'll be using. Because on this one, I'm really only using 5 colors, but I have many color stops. I have 9 color stops. So yeah, the counter's nice because it keeps, it's a way for me to let everybody know when they need to really pay attention. And I thought the machine was set to full speed, so I don't know, but mine sure took a long time to stitch. And then sometimes it also depends on the type of stitch. So even if you've ever noticed that, even if your machine is turned up to full speed, it's going to go full speed if you're doing like a fill stitch. In other words, it's running from one side to the other and it's just, doing this and it'll run pretty fast. Once it starts doing like a satin stitch or anything else like that, then it actually slows itself down as needed. And in this case, we lose a few seconds every time it cuts and moves to the next position. So because we have so many of these little guys that are going to be fringy when we're done, we're losing probably about 5 minutes in just all the times. If we add up all the time it takes to actually for the machine to slow down, cut the thread, move to the next position and start out again, because it doesn't start out at full speed. It has to knot first and then it gets faster. So although the machine seems to think it's going to do this step in 7 to 10 minutes, in actuality, it has not. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us today, Susie. This video will be posted in its entirety probably late this afternoon. It takes a little while for it to actually process on Zoom. And then it usually takes me a little bit of time to download it and then upload it to the both the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. When it's done, everybody will get a notice of where to click. So for the rest of you, I'm actually going to stop stitching after this is done. I'm not going to sew, but I love fall most of all, mainly because I want to get the stitching part on the video for you. And I already have it on the other side. Don't stop stitching if you're still stitching. Let your stitch, let it finish. And then, but that way we'll be able to at least finish somewhat within the allotted amount of time, and you'll have the sewing the pillow together part on there as well. Thank you. Thanks, Katharina. Oh my gosh, it's like this is painful. It takes so long, huh? So definitely more than 7 minutes. Maybe I did turn the machine down, but I don't think so. Or maybe somebody else used it and turned it down. I'm not sure. I don't think so though, because when it actually runs, it runs pretty fast. I think that the timing for each step was just a little bit off. Okay, we're getting closer to the end. We're now on the little ones on the side, which shouldn't take very long. And again, if you are stitching and you are either behind me or at the same spot, do not stop your stitching. I'm going to go ahead and stop because I want to have the finishing on the video. So you keep stitching. I'm going to just move over to the table and take my stabilizer off and get ready to stitch. Okay, yay. So you guys, you just keep right on stitching. You go ahead and do the last stitch. Don't forget, Lori, don't forget to put your other bobbin back in.
I did, thank you. Since you
Okay.
reminded me before, I'm like, okay,
Yay.
get that bobbin out.
I've done, yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've done that. I'm like, oh, I'm on a roll. And then all of a sudden, uh-oh, I
Yeah,
forgot to put the
then
other.
you're in trouble.
Yes. All right. So I have completed step 8. What would sew next would be, but I love fall most of all. I'm going to skip that part. You keep sewing. I'm going to actually just get the finishing steps on the video for you. So I'm going to pretend that mine finished. And I'm going to go ahead and take the hoop off. And I'm going to move to the table. It's so weird. Sometimes I can get the camera icon to pop up on my phone when I'm doing Zoom, and sometimes I can't, so that I turn it off so nobody needs Dramamine. All right, so I usually just pop out And then if you look at the back, you'll see you have a lot of these little tiny things here, these little tiny threads from all the cuts. There's a couple of ways you can handle that. You can go ahead and trim them all. To be honest with you, how I do it is I take a lighter, a cigarette lighter, or one of those barbecue torches, and just go over it really quick, and it just singes them all. That's how I do it, because there's a lot of them there. All right, so I'm gonna actually take my stabilizer off to the best of my ability. I mean, keep in mind, there's a pillow form or something gonna go in here, so you don't have to get it all off, but just get most of it. All right. So if you want to, you can go in there. It just depends. A lot of people prefer to have no stabilizer left behind. And frankly, if this was a garment that I was going to wear, I probably would take more care to get most of it out. But I didn't even get that much out, all of it out on this other side. For a pillow, when you're going to stick a pillow form in there, I wouldn't worry about it. But if you want to, you go ahead and pick. All right. So what we want to do to sew this together, we're going to refer to the steps. We're going to refer to the steps on page 10 and 9 and 10. So with 9 and on page 9, step 2 is, first of all, step 1 is to actually open the zipper halfway. Nothing is worse than sewing it together and not having your zipper open so that you can turn it. So you want to take your zipper and open it halfway and then fold it right sides together. And we want to line up our edges. So I'm going to go ahead and I prefer clips to pins. It's up to you, whatever you prefer. And as far as sewing this, you know, you could use a walking foot if you wanted to, because the fabric is quilted. I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'll be okay. If you have a brother or baby lock machine, anywhere from the midline to the top of the line, any of those models, your machine has an automatic height adjustment feature that's a sensor. So as long as that feature is turned on, and I'll show you where it is in the settings, what it looks like. It won't be the same on everybody's model. It won't be the same page on everybody's model, but the wording will be the same. As long as you have that selected, the machine can generally determine how thick the fabric is underneath it. It's a really very cool setting that obviously doesn't get as much recognition as it probably should. All right, so I usually will begin at the corners and then smooth it out. And sometimes like this one, you'll see that I have extra over here and my edges are even. So don't think it's you. Sometimes it's just that, and if I look at that, I've got that little bloop right there. It's kind of like not even. So what I'm gonna do is just distribute that in half, because I know that this top part is longer than the bottom one. And I wanna just keep it as even as I can here. So I'm gonna start from the middle and just clip out. And I'll probably end up, it's not enough to actually worry about sewing from the other side. Sometimes it's enough of a difference in how the top and the bottom are fabric wise, how it's cut, that you have to almost flip it over because you have to be able to catch it. All right, by the zipper, I'm going to fold the zipper in half here. I want to start and stop stitching a 1/2 inch away from that. So I have this on my, sorry, I have this on my cutting board mat, and the 1/2 inch is right here. It's on the inside, nobody's going to see it. I have my zipper tape folded in half, so I know I'm even. And I'm going to clip that here. All right, then I'm just going to clip. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Get some of this out of the way. I'm going to fold where my zipper teeth are, set it on the mat so I can see a 1/2 inch and mark 1/2 inch. That's where I'm going to start and stop. All right. All right, so let me I always love to throw something in, especially for those of you that don't come from a background of actually sewing. You just picked it up with embroidery. So oftentimes you'll have this happen where you buy a piece like this and it's not even though you try to pin it even, you have more or less in one place or another. Your machine has feed dogs on the bottom. If you put the side that's a little bit too big down to the feed dogs, your feed dogs, as you sew, will ease some of that in, meaning it may not be as off as you think when you get done. And that is kind of how a sewing machine and the feed dogs work, is you're stitching from the top and the feed dogs underneath can actually, it's not a bunch. We're not talking it's a differential feed like a serger. That's not going to happen. But if it's just a little tiny bit, pick the side that's too big and put it down to the machine because it'll ease some of that in for you. All right, so I'm going to take this over and switch my machine out to a straight stitch. And then let's see where we are from here. Where's my page 10? There's 7, 8. Here we go. 9, 10. All right, so you're going to sew from here to here all the way around. Okay. You'll notice on this with the 1/2 inch seam allowance, you'll notice on this that it is not having you clip the corners. Don't clip your corners on this. And I'll tell you why. You almost want that extra fabric in your corner because A, you're not going to get a square corner anyway with quilted fabric. And B, it's going to fill in so that when you put your pillow form in, you don't quite have, I refer to it, this will be your laugh for the day. I refer to it as you don't have the nipple effect where you have a whole pillow form and then all of the edges are poking out. So you're going to leave the extra fabric in and you're going to let that extra fabric work for you so that you can poke it into the corners. And you'll notice here on this one that it's not. You're not going to get perfectly square because you're working with quilted fabric. It's too many layers. Even if you clip the corner, you wouldn't get it perfectly square. But if you leave it in there, you won't get it perfectly pointy either. And perfectly pointy is not what we want. All right, chuckle for the day over. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch my machine out to stitching. And, oh, look, I actually got the camera. Well, and now I can't get it back. Come on. All right. So if you have a brother or baby lock, either one of those machines, I'm going to show you where that automatic height adjustment is. So in your machine settings, you have a system, you have a setting. It may not be on this page. It depends on what model you have, but anywhere from the midline up. So that would be anywhere from in the brother line, it would be like from the BQ 750, the BQ 950, the BQ 1350. So that would be like the Brilliant, the Brilliant, is it Soprano? And then there's one more. And then the ballad and the chorus in the Baby Lock line, and the actual embroidery machine models of those same kinds. So rather than try to go through all of them, just go to your machine settings, open the machine settings, and see if you see a setting that says automatic fabric sensor system. It looks like that. If you see that, turn it on, because it didn't ship with it turned on. So make sure you have that turned on. And then you will be amazed at how many times when you're just working with something as thin as this, 2 layers of batting and 4 layers of fabric, that you don't have to put your walking foot on. All right, so I just have a straight stitch, and I know this machine has a setting for me. This machine has a setting that if I select P130, it moves my needle over so that I can use my J foot, and it gives me a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. But guess what? If I mirror image it, it gives me a perfect 1/2 inch seam allowance based on the side of the J foot. So that's what I'm going to use. And then let me change out to my J foot. Thanks.
She just wants a class.
Okay.
Bottom machine.
What is this about?
This one,
That's the oddest message I've ever seen.
I know, right? She wants to buy, she's looking for like, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but she's looking to buy a kit thing here.
Oh, okay, like a Kimberbell kit. Okay, that makes more
She
sense.
wants like a certain, I just wrote down ghostly reading.
Uh-huh.
And then I think she gave me the number part for it. Or
Oh,
whatever
okay.
it was.
All right, thank
So I
you.
wrote that down.
Oh, I'll call her.
She has a weird thing. She just said she wants it like a specific something.
Okay, all righty. I'll take care of it. Thanks, Max. All right, so if I start at one end and I go this way, look at what I have to do. I have to be with my foot. Let me get in there. I have to be with my foot on top of the zipper. And that may or may not work for you, depending on your machine. So I prefer to start in the center and go all the way to the other side, and then turn the fabric over and go the other direction. If you don't have any ease that you need to ease in, that will work fine. If you do, and you want to use your feed dogs to ease it in, that's not going to work. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. I want to drop my needle right where I drew my line for 1/2 inch. And you'll see I am not changing from my embroidery thread. It'll be fine. All right. You also have this little knob over here. I'm gonna put my needle down in the fabric. This little knob is an automatic hump jumper, or to let thicker fabrics go through. So if I notice that my foot is tilting upward, I can lift the foot, push that button in, put the foot down, and it'll actually compensate for the height of the fabric that it's sewing on. Pretty cool feature. Both of them not really advertised quite as much as it probably should be. When it goes over your hump, like a jean seam or something like that, when it goes over your hump, the button will push back out. So I'm going to do a few stitches, and then I'm going to do a fixed stitch, and then I'm just going to keep going. Yep. That's why I like my job. All the little known facts that don't, there's so much on them, then some of the features just get missed altogether. All right, so I'm going to come down to the bottom, and I can see it's time to pivot. Nope, got to get one more stitch in. So all I have to do is follow the edge of the fabric with the edge of my foot with this. Yes, love this tip. I do too. I never knew until I knew. All right, so now now I can use my J foot. And to be honest with you, I do all my piecing with the J foot. I do not use a 1/4 inch foot. I don't use them because I can never keep the fabric straight. But with my J foot, I have this whole edge of the foot running along a feed dog. So it's really hard for me to get off track. All I have to do is make sure that the edge of my fabric stays at the edge of the foot. Did I make it? Nope. Yep. Did I? Nope. One more stitch. There we go. So that J foot will keep you on track. I have several 1/4-inch feet that came with the machine. I've never used one of them. I've always just used the pre-selected stitch that was designed in the machine. All right, so now you'll really be able to see that. All right, so I'm coming to, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit closer so you can see how that black button works. All right, so I want you to note when the foot begins to tilt up. You can kind of see it tilting up. When that happens, what I want to do is leave the needle down, lift the foot, move the foot forward, push the button in. And then I can continue to stitch and it actually levels itself to what it's stitching on. That to me is one of the coolest features on here that never gets any love. So again, that's your little black button here on your J foot. And that allows you to, when you come to a seam that's too thick, like think about going over the flat felled seam of a pair of jeans. You leave your needle down. If your foot's tipping up, you lift the foot, push the black button in, level the foot, push the black button in, and then just put it down. And when it's done, the button pops out by itself. All right. Let's see how we did. Looking pretty good to me. Looking a little skinny on this one side. So I'm going to go over this again. So there's all the excess of the my front being bigger than my back. So I'm going to go in and go just a little deeper on this because it's not catching it all. So here's my 1/2 inch. I'll start there. And now what I'm doing is using the edge of my J foot on that so that I catch all of that. That's all excess. That's all bigger than it needed to be. And I'm going to just stop at the bottom because the bottom's still okay. And the other side is okay. But when I get done here, my pillow will be flat because I didn't try to force something that was too big to be smaller. All right. And then I can now that I opened my zipper before I did this, I can go in. And here's what I like to do. And again, it's up to you. Everybody has their different ways. I've got my thumb pressed up in that corner. And I'm going to fold the corners almost like a little folded in half. So I'm trying to get that. So all right, so there's my thumb. I'm going to fold this one this way and then that corner that way, almost like it's folded into a little square. And then I'm just going to push with my fingers and out with my thumb. And look at how nice that corner is. But feel that in there. All of that fabric now is going to fill that area there. So when you put your pillow form in, it's not going to collapse. So let me do it on the other side. So maybe I can get in a little closer and do it with the camera in the right place. All right. So I've got my thumb in there. I've got all of it wadded up there. I'm going to take this and fold it. I'll do it to the front so you can see it. Doesn't matter which way you do it. I'm folding that way. I'm folding that way. So I've made the point by folding the excess. With this finger, I'm pushing forward into the corner. And then wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Nice square corner. And it's got support in there so that it won't collapse. All right. If you are still stitching, happy stitching. I think most of you are probably done by now. You have an extra 1/2 inch at the beginning. So you can actually take that fabric and let's see if we can get that to go pretty flat. It will, it'll turn itself around the corner there. And there we go. Look at our cool little pillow. And look at, we don't even have the pointy effect. It comes out much squarer. All right, ladies, go ahead, and gents, if there's any gents watching later, go ahead and finish off your pillow. Any questions? All right, go ahead. Yeah, no? Okay. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for stitching with me today. I love it when we can get together and stitch. So thank you. Have a fabulous afternoon.
Thank
Or
you.
or
Yeah.
evening, depending on where you're at. All right, ladies, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.